Is it time to fire your client? Hey everybody, today we're going to be talking about firing your client. Wow, is that something that you really might do? Welcome to the Realtor's Toolbox. I'm Realtor Rich.
I'm Michelle Haas.
Loving Life with Lucy Curran. So today, firing your client. Well, in real estate can be a really sensitive decision, but sometimes it's necessary for the well-being of your business. Here are several scenarios that might warrant firing a client.
When I was a brand new agent, I was horrified at the idea of firing a client. That felt like I had a paycheck and then now I'm not going to have one. So it was very difficult to make those decisions. But if you've been around for a little while, you'll know that decision starts to become easier and easier. And today we just want to talk about a few reasons why you might fire your client. Number one reason, there's a lack of respect. There's a lack of trust. You show up and you're going to show them a property and they don't show up. You come to show them a property and they're 20 minutes late. You make yourself available for what they need and they don't respect your time, they're late, and they don't respect who you are, and it just feels bad. And there are people who are chronically late, but one thing that I had to get rid of a client for, I felt disrespected when the flirting continued for too long. You know, one day there was some flirting, and I there's a fine line between friendly and flirting. And I had to say one day, like, you know, I'm married, right? I do wear my wedding ring all the time. And I kind of had to say that again. You know, I'm married, right? Oh, yeah, no, I'm just being friendly. It's okay. But it continued. And then I've got this weird text coming through. And it just felt more weird. And the whole process was dragging on. And, you know, I say trust your gut with these kind of scenarios. And if something is not feeling right to you, trust it. After a while of doing real estate, you'll not be desperate to chase that client anyway. So,
Wow, Michelle, I tell you, being females, man, it's tough. It really, you get them creepers out there, guys. Women, you guys better watch yourselves because there are some pretty fascinating people out there that you got to watch out for. You know, and another scenario is unreasonable demands and expectations, right? I mean, I had buyers that basically knew exactly what their pre-approval amount was, and they were having me show them homes in a higher price range. And of course, you know, I'll show them one just to see, because a lot of times I've gone through where I've actually had some buyers that were able to get gifted more money for that home at a higher price than what they were approved for. So, you know, I'm not so super strict about that, but it can get a little ridiculous when when I've actually shown, which yes, I'm guilty of it. I've shown somebody, a buyer, more than 15 homes in a weekend earlier on in my career, and found it to be the most time consuming and super wasteful experience with time, because they never even liked any of them. Okay. And then it was just not reasonable. You know what I call it, guys, is the buyers that have $1 million taste with the McDonald's budget. I'm sorry, but that's just the truth. I mean, come on, right? You got it. So you as an agent have to be really cognitive and make sure that, you know, these buyers, they show proof of funds, that you communicate with the lender, making sure that they are approved at that specific amount. So when you actually do search for homes and then take them out to go see them, that they are within that price range, that you're not wasting your time, along with, you know, knowing that it's nothing that's unexpected, right? And if they demand it, then you know what, then you just have to educate them and let them know and be firm with them that you can't do that. That's just going to waste your time and their time on top of that. And then on the selling side, I've had sellers who actually wanted to overprice their house ridiculously, right? Where the market, after showing them comparables and all the stats and of the sold in the past 6 months to active listings to pending listings, and still after educating them, they wanted to put their house on the market for ridiculously maybe 20 grand over amount, right? And at the very end of the day, if you, let's just say, went with it, it could be really hard where all of a sudden the house is on the market for a long time. And then guess who's to blame, right? Sellers tend to like to blame things on who is it? The representing agent. So just things that you have to watch for in regards to unreasonable demands from the selling side and the buying side.
Yeah, absolutely. And another one is non-cooperation and unresponsiveness. And it's kind of interesting because in the very beginning, when you're meeting with clients, you really want to take a few minutes and try to set some expectations, especially when it comes down to the timeliness of a real estate transaction, because time is of the essence. People have a mortgage they're paying, and if they think they're going to close and they end up not closing, and this is happening because of unreasonableness, and they're going outside of what are reasonable expectations that are set forth in the contract, even though maybe you've set some boundaries and you've kind of set some expectations. They may fail to cooperate with you. They're not providing necessary information, or they're not responding to you when you need to get people in for inspections, whether you're representing the seller or the buyer. It could be non-cooperation and unresponsiveness on either side, representing the buyer or the seller, and that they're not honoring the timelines in the contract, they're kind of ignoring it, or they've just made it a low priority for some reason. That can really hinder or even kill your deal. And if you find this becomes a pattern with the buyer, right? They're not doing the things they said that they're going to do. They're not honoring what needs to be done. And maybe the same thing on the seller side, excuse me, repeatedly. Now you've been in escrow 4 times, and it's because of the neglect of the seller or the neglect of your buyer. At that point, it's time to really have a heart-to-heart talk with them and lay down the law. Or at that point, by the time you've been in contract 3 or 4 times, you're seeing this pattern. You have to begin to question whether they really, truly want to own a home, or if they're just going through the process, but in the end, they're never going to do it anyway. At some point, you've got to cut ties. And so that might be your sign, is that you've recognized these patterns, and now you're going to let go of that client, and maybe you'll help them get on board somewhere else. But yeah, those non-cooperation and unresponsiveness, those can be deal killers, and it'll make you question the client after you've been through it 2 or 3 or 4 times. So
one of the biggest topics for me is ethical concerns, right? I mean, huge. I mean, we agents have to do our fiduciary responsibility no matter what, right? By law, by the BRE, and because that's our license that's on the line. And so, I mean, clients, right, wanting you to engage in illegal activity to unethical activities. And examples of that I've experienced was I had a client that came in and wanted to sell her condo. Yes, it was in her name and everything, but when we pulled up the prelim, it all of a sudden didn't have her. It was her ex-husband that was on the actual title of the property. And I said, no, we cannot, I cannot represent you. I have to represent the person on the title. And of course, she immediately was like, well, it's like, I own it. I pay for the mortgage. Well, I understand that, but still, so it was a battle. But at that moment, I said, you know what? I'm not going to risk my license So if you would like to have a more in-depth conversation on how you can sell your condo, then you need to take it up with the title company, because that's out of my scope. So things like that you have to really be careful about, because people can be a little sneaky, and trying to get you into a contract, not realizing that that house either doesn't belong to them or that property. um, and other illegal practices of asking, how, like faking their income, right? Finding out ways for you to help them on faking their income to be able to show the lender, I mean, on that they could afford this house. So then now you got the lender, involved as well in illegal activities that can cause that person to also lose their license. So just a lot of things that you have to catch, that can jeopardize your license, before you even realize that you're caught up in something and it's just too late. So just making sure that you stick by the rules and regulations of the Board of Real Estate.
Absolutely. And there's really two really big things that come into play there. I mean, when people are doing things that are unethical or illegal, they could be committing fraud. There's lots of things that they could be doing. And, it doesn't matter what area of real estate you're talking about. If someone is breaking the law, you have to have a zero tolerance policy.
Absolutely.
And there's two reasons for that. One, your reputation is on the line big time. You get a reputation of representing people that break the law and doing these things, you'll become known for that in the industry, and other agents won't want to do business with you, and they will steer business away from you. So that's one thing that is super, super important. But the other thing is you've got to have a zero tolerance policy, because if you make one exception in an area that you shouldn't have, and anything ends up becoming public, that would 100% jeopardize your license, and you would lose your license over that. You can't protect your license enough. There's way too much money to be made in the real estate industry to allow one client who's doing something that's illegal or unethical to affect your ability to earn through real estate. I mean, when you close a $500,000 listing, if you have a 3% gross commission, that's $15,000. You close 10 of those in a year, that's $150,000 of money. And just nothing is worth jeopardizing that. It's too much work and studying and testing and maintaining the license to put that on the line no matter what. So yeah.
And Rich, you're so right, Rich. It's now that we have technology and how AI with social media, I mean, the real estate world has become a very small world. So things and information gets around really quickly, for sure.
It has. And so I think it's really important to be hard line no when it comes to illegal or unethical activities, fraud, anything like that. It is zero tolerance. You just aren't going to work with people that are like that. And, that'll serve you well in the rest of your career and the rest of your life. Heaven forbid that you got caught up unknowingly in something and then got accused of something and it got pinned on you. I mean, that would be horrible. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So,
yeah. And when considering firing a client, okay, is communicating clearly why you're going to be firing the client, of course, in a professional and empathetic manner, of course, clearly articulating the issues and attempts to find the resolution, and letting them know that, that you have not come to an agreement. And, those are terms for you to tell them that, you no longer can represent them.
Another thing to do when you're going to fire a client is to set clear boundaries. Communicate well that what you allow and what you don't allow. For the example of your client is continually showing up late and making you wait, really, they're not making you do anything. You allowed it. And for the first time, if they're 20 minutes late, even 30 minutes late, they're texting you, I'm almost there, and you're waiting. You have other appointments. So if something like that occurs, when they get to the home or whatever property that you're going to be showing them, set that clear boundary from the beginning. And you can say something like, today I'm able to wait for you, but other days I can't. So please be sure to be on time. Short, sweet, to the point, very direct. This is no time to say, oh, yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. If you do that from the beginning, they're going to treat you like that another time. And like I said, there are some people who are late all the time everywhere they go. I used to be one. So it's not always a personal thing. Sometimes it's easy to get scatterbrained, but communicate those boundaries right from the beginning. If your client suggests something that is illegal, unethical, something that you are not willing to participate in, clearly say, I'm not willing to do that. This is the reason why. You can say something like, oh, you probably didn't know we're not allowed to do that, and this is why. And continue communicating with them and leave that door open with them. If they insist, say, I can't be part of that. I'm not allowed to be part of that. My conscience says I can't be part of that. So I can help you if we're going to do the right thing, but I'm not going to be able to help you if this is what you insist on doing. So you can kind of communicate those things clearly, set those boundaries early. And you know what? You're a professional. Treat yourself like a professional and be a professional from start to finish. If you wait till it gets to be out of hand, it's hard to go back. So start from the beginning.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that you mentioned about remain professional in everything, right? All the way through. And even if you get to a point where you need to offer a solution to them that is an exit strategy for you, you want to remain professional in it. And maybe that means you're handing them off to another agent that you work with. And maybe there's a way for you to hand them off professionally. Like the next time you go show property, you bring another agent with you and introduce them as one of your teammates. And then, it makes it a smoother handoff. Then the next time they want to see property, the teammate is showing them and you step back. And maybe you're partnering on that deal and doing a 50-50 share on the commission or doing it as a referral fee. Or there's lots of ways that you can still be compensated for the work that you've done if the client is, still willing to work with someone that you're handing them off to. Or maybe they just need somebody else to deal with because personalities are different and different strokes for different folks. There just might be a personality conflict, and it's okay. 100%. It does happen, and it's nothing personal, but recognizing that and then bringing one of your partners in to take over the showings or handling whatever needs to be handled. I've done that in the past myself, where I had brought another agent in because it started to feel too personal to me. And I'm like, you know what? I need somebody else to step in here to keep it arm's length. And I brought that person in and paid them for helping me to assist in that transaction. And so, but you can always offer an exit strategy. If it's not working out and the client's thinking about leaving, help them find somebody else. When you go the extra mile, even when it means that you're not going to be getting paid, that doesn't mean that there aren't other good things that are going to come your way. Maybe the agent that you hand them off to hands one back off to you later, or refers you something, or finds a way to involve you. Or maybe that client respects you because you did hand it off and they didn't feel like they were getting what they needed with you, and they refer you somebody later because they have respect for you. So there's lots of ways that you can, really still bring value, even though you're stepping away, and, and you're protecting your reputation and you're holding your professionalism intact, and everybody can be happy and gain the result they're looking for. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like being involved all the way to the end, and you're being helpful to people that way. So you're never wrong for serving, and I like that That's part right. of it.
Keeping that professionalism all the way through is critical, but also keeping your well-being all the way through is even more critical. We love to make money. We love to help people. We love to be involved, but it cannot be at the expense of your health, of a stress level that is too high. And not every client is for every agent, and that's okay. That doesn't mean you failed as an agent. You just keep going and you find others. There are plenty of great people. And as your experience grows, you will find more and more people. You will be increasing your skills more and more, and you'll be able to help more and more people. It just works out with experience.
I couldn't agree with you more, Michelle. Maintaining your professionalism and protecting your own well-being is the most important thing, because you are still going to be serving others and going forward, and you can't do that well if you're not taking care of yourself first, right? It's kind of like the old thing when you're on the airplane. Put your mask on first, then help somebody else put their mask on. Well, I think that's a wrap for this video. If you liked what we've shared in this video, please let us know. Leave us a comment, like this video, share with your friends, and we'll be back at the Realtor's Toolbox. Keep an eye out for more of our videos. Have a great day, everybody.
More to go. All right.